The snow fell softly on Christmas Eve as Robert Mitchell walked hand-in-hand with his 7-year-old daughter Emma through the decorated downtown streets. The storefronts glowed with warm light, and families hurried past with their last-minute shopping bags. Robert had been a single father for 3 years now, since his wife Sarah passed away from cancer. He'd learned to cherish these simple moments with Emma, even when money was tight. Emma suddenly stopped walking, her small mittened hand tugging at her father's sleeve. "Daddy, look," she whispered, pointing toward a storefront entrance. Robert followed her gaze. There, sitting on the cold pavement beside a large glass window, was a young boy. He couldn't have been more than 10 years old, with messy blonde hair peeking out from under a worn gray cap. His thin jacket looked inadequate for the winter weather. Beside him sat a wicker basket covered with a white cloth, and a small handwritten sign that read, "Fresh bread for sale. Please help." "Daddy, why is he? Why is that boy selling bread on Christmas Eve?" Emma asked, her voice filled with concern. "Doesn't he have a family? Shouldn't he be home?" Robert felt his heart squeeze. He knelt down beside Emma, taking a moment before answering. "I don't know, sweetheart, but sometimes people go through hard times. Sometimes families need help, and everyone does what they can." Emma's brown eyes, so much like her mother's, looked up at him with that particular expression he knew well. It was the look that said she wanted to do something to make things better. Sarah had the same look when she volunteered at the food bank every week. "Can we buy some bread?" Emma asked. "I have my allowance money in my pocket." Robert smiled gently at his daughter. "Let's go talk to him together." They walked over to where the boy sat. Up close, Robert could see the child's cheeks were red from the cold, and his hands, despite thin gloves with holes in the fingers, carefully arranged and rearranged the cloth over his basket. "Hello there," Robert said warmly. "I'm Robert, and this is my daughter Emma. We'd like to buy some bread." The boy looked up, surprise flickering across his face. His eyes were bright blue, but tired. "Really? It's homemade. My mom baked it. It's really good, I promise." "I'm sure it is," Robert said, crouching down. "What's your name, son?" "Tyler," the boy answered quietly. "Tyler Anderson." Emma knelt beside the basket. "Can I see?" Tyler carefully pulled back the cloth, revealing several loaves wrapped in clear plastic. The bread looked golden and perfectly formed. The aroma was wonderful, even in the cold air. "Your mom is a good baker," Robert observed. "How much for a loaf?" $5, Tyler said, then quickly added, "But if that's too much, I can do 4, or even 3. Robert's chest tightened. This child was negotiating down, desperate for any sale. $5 is more than fair. "We'll take 2 loaves." As Robert reached for his wallet, Emma spoke up. "Tyler, do you have to stay out here much longer?" Tyler glanced at the basket. "Until I sell all the bread." "Mom's been sick, and Dad." "Well, Dad left last year." "Mom tried to work, but she got real sick last month, and now she can't hardly get out of bed." "The doctor bills." His voice trailed off. "I'm trying to help. We need money for rent and medicine." Robert's hand paused as he pulled out the bills. He looked at this young boy, trying so hard to take care of his mother, sitting in the snow on Christmas Eve. He thought about his own struggles as a single parent, but at least he had a steady job, health insurance, a warm home. "Tyler, where do you live?" Robert asked gently. The boy hesitated, then pointed down the street. "The apartment's 3 blocks that way. The old brick building." Robert knew those apartments. They were the cheapest in town, and even those weren't very cheap. He pulled out his wallet and looked inside. He'd planned to buy Emma one more small gift tomorrow, but that could wait. Some things were more important. Emma was already digging in her coat pocket, pulling out a small change purse covered in butterflies. "I have $8.50, she announced. "Can we buy more bread?" Robert felt tears prick his eyes. His little girl, without hesitation, offering everything she had. Sarah would have been so proud. "That's very kind, Ma," he said softly. Then to Tyler, "How many loaves do you have left?" 6, Tyler answered, counting the 2 you're buying. Robert made a decision. "We'll take all of them." Tyler's eyes widened. "All of them? But that's $30 total." "I know," Robert said, counting out the bills. He added them as money to his and handed Tyler $40. "The extra is for you and your mom for Christmas." Tyler stared at the money in his hand, his eyes filling with tears. I can't. That's too much." "You can, and you will," Robert said firmly but kindly. "Now, I want you to tell me something honestly. Have you eaten dinner tonight?" Tyler looked down. "Mom had some soup. I ate her earlier." That was probably a lie, Robert thought. "Well, Emma and I were just about to get some dinner at the diner around the corner. Would you join us? You can bring the bread home to your mom afterward, and we can drive you there." "It's too cold to walk." "I shouldn't," Tyler said, but his voice wavered. Emma reached out and took Tyler's hand. "Please, it's Christmas Eve. Nobody should be alone on Christmas Eve." 20 minutes later, they sat in a warm booth at Martha's diner. The owner, Martha herself, was a woman in her 60s who'd known Robert since he was a boy. When she heard Tyler's story, she brought out extra food without being asked, a hamburger and fries for Tyler, hot chocolate all around, and she refused to let Robert pay for the boy's meal. "Merry Christmas," she said simply, patting Tyler's shoulder as she set down the plates. Tyler ate slowly at first, almost embarrassed, but hunger won out. Between bites, he talked about his mother, Linda, who had been a secretary before she got sick. He talked about how she taught herself to bake bread using her grandmother's recipes, how she'd been trying to start a small business from home before the illness struck. Emma listened intently, asking questions in her gentle way, making Tyler smile despite everything. Robert watched his daughter and felt a swell of pride. She had her mother's heart, that rare ability to see people's pain and want to ease it. When they finished eating, Robert loaded the basket of bread into his car and drove Tyler home. The apartment building was indeed old, with cracked steps and peeling paint. Tyler led them to a third-floor unit. "Mom," Tyler called as he opened the door, "I'm back, and I brought friends." The apartment was tiny but clean. A small Christmas tree sat in the corner, decorated with handmade ornaments. On the couch lay a woman in her early 30s, thin and pale, wrapped in blankets. But her face lit up when she saw her son. "Tyler, baby, you're frozen," Linda said, trying to sit up. Then she noticed Robert and Emma. "Oh, I'm sorry." "Please, don't get up," Robert said quickly. "I'm Robert Mitchell, and this is Emma. We bought Tyler's bread, and we just wanted to make sure he got home safely." Linda's eyes filled with tears as Tyler emptied his pockets, showing her the money. $40, Mom, and they bought all the bread, and they took me to dinner." Linda covered her mouth, crying now. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I didn't want him out there. I tried to stop him, but he snuck out while I was sleeping. I've been so worried." "He's a brave boy," Robert said gently. "And you've raised him well." "But Linda, if I may ask, do you have what you need? Medicine, food?" Linda wiped her eyes. "We manage." "Tyler shouldn't have been out there, but Trent's due in a few days, and I don't get my disability check until the 5th. I thought if I could just bake and sell a little." Robert looked around the apartment. He saw the empty refrigerator through the kitchen doorway, the stack of medical bills on the table. He made another decision. "Ma," he said, "would you and Tyler like to look at that Christmas tree? I think I see some ornaments that look homemade." When the children moved to the corner, examining the decorations, Robert sat down near Linda. He spoke quietly. "My wife passed away 3 years ago. I know what it's like to struggle alone, to feel like you're failing your child. But you're not failing. Tyler loves you, and he's trying to help the only way he knows how." Linda nodded, tears streaming down her face. Robert continued, "I'm going to be very direct with you. I'd like to help. I can't solve everything, but I can help with rent this month. And my sister owns a bakery across town. She's been looking for someone who can bake at home and supply fresh bread. It's not much, but it's something, and you can do it on your schedule, when you're feeling well enough." "I can't ask you to," Linda began. "You're not asking. I'm offering," Robert said. "It's Christmas Eve. Linda, let me do this. Let someone help you the way others have helped me." In the corner, Emma and Tyler were laughing about something, their young voices bright in the small apartment. Robert pulled out his checkbook and wrote a check for $1,500, enough to cover rent and then some. He set it on the table. "This is a gift," he said, "no strings. And after Christmas, I'll have my sister give you a call about the baking. She really does need the help, and from what Tyler tells me, you're very good." Linda couldn't speak. She just nodded, crying and nodding. Robert stood up. "We should let you rest, Ma. Sweetheart, time to go." Emma ran over and, to everyone's surprise, hugged Linda gently. "Merry Christmas," she said. "I hope you feel better soon." Then she hugged Tyler. "Maybe we can be friends? Maybe you can come play sometime?" Tyler grinned, the first real smile Robert had seen from him. "I'd like that." As they drove home through the snowy streets, Emma was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "Daddy, I'm glad we helped Tyler and his mom." "Me too, sweetheart. Mom would have helped them too, wouldn't she?" Robert felt emotion catch in his throat. "Yes, baby, she absolutely would have. She always said that kindness is the best gift we can give." Emma nodded thoughtfully. "I didn't need another toy anyway. This was better." Robert reached over and squeezed her hand. "You know what, you're absolutely right, this was better." That night, after Emma was asleep, Robert sat by their own Christmas tree, thinking about the evening. He wasn't a rich man, the check he'd written would mean tightening his budget for a while. But he felt lighter somehow, more at peace than he'd felt in months. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Linda Anderson. Tyler helped me set this up. I don't have words for what you did tonight. Thank you doesn't feel like enough, but thank you. Merry Christmas." Robert typed back, "Merry Christmas, Linda. Take care of yourself and that wonderful boy." He set down his phone and looked at the ornaments on his tree, many of them made by Sarah years ago. He could almost feel her presence, her approval. She'd always believed in helping others, in being the light in someone's darkness. Outside, the snow continued to fall, softer and quiet, covering everything in white. In 3 different apartments across town, 3 people went to sleep that night with fuller hearts. A young boy who learned that strangers could be kind, a sick mother who learned that help could come when you needed it most, and a single father who learned that his daughter had inherited the best parts of her mother's soul. Christmas morning came gently, as it always does, with promise and hope for all who believe in the simple power of human kindness.